What's that fan sound in the background?
You're going to have to worry about it later, okay? You just have to do it. Right. I'm sorry, I can't help you with that.
Going live. Okay, welcome everybody. This is your loving servant, the Unknown Lightwarrior, and welcome to this rather interesting, what you're going to find to be a kind of riveting, startling, revelatory, surprising information here that even surprised me. And let me just make sure I can be heard just fine. So go ahead and click Y in the chat box and where you're from. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, James. Okay. Brian, how are you? Brian, Leonie, Lenka, Brittany, fantastic. Belinda, Winston, Durango, New Zealand, Netherlands, Michigan, Tennessee, Estonia, wonderful. Miami, Massachusetts, Montreal, Wisconsin, Sally Biggs from George from Hungary, Texas. Okay, they're really flowing in there. And thank Germany, of course, California, Yuba City, California, Romania, British Columbia. Hello, Laura and Nancy from California. Fantastic. My hometown of Melbourne, I just saw that fly past. And North Carolina. Elvira from West Virginia, Alberta, Canada. Elise, fantastic. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to have to get started and get through a fair bit of information here because, well, let me get into it. There's a bit to get into. So welcome to the Third Eye and Psychic Activation Training. This is Jim Tortzakis, the Unknown Lightwarrior. And so I want to congratulate you all for registering, supporting the cause by paying. Like it cost around about $800 just to get certain graphic images that I'm going to put into a visual video format for you, just to get that done, let alone the I suppose the monetary aspect of not being able to do other income producing activities to put all this together. So thank you for your donation. I really appreciate it. It did make the difference. Croatia, Colorado, fantastic. So now this Third Eye Psychic Activation method is all about, as always, embodying your higher self, to rise above all challenges, be bigger than the problem, so to speak, which is sort of happens by default when you anchor in enough of your bigness into your physical level self. Long story, to keep things simple, solve all your problems. As Wayne Dyer said, there's a spiritual solution to every problem. That's very true. And it's about getting that spirituality down here, activating it at the physical level. Psychically see or sense all blocks and interferences to your path, okay? As in much more quicker. You see what's really happening, you do a quick visualization, clear it, okay? Imagine what a world of a difference that would make, and having the easier time to clear them faster, okay, to avoid those negative timelines, and building on and making the most out of all those past tools and courses you did to, in your efforts to revolutionize life and be multidimensional without having to leave your body, your physical 3D bodies, or wait for the ETs to save us, waiting for the event to happen, and seamlessly raise your frequency in the process, okay, to manifest abundance and joy. That's what high frequencies tend to attract. And of course, to be in the position of power to change the planet. And this is a big part of it. So after this class, you will be provided with everything you need to activate your third eye psychic senses. This includes visual aids that you won't get anywhere else. I had to create them from scratch to make it all much easier and realistic for you to activate or amplify your existing psychic and psychic seeing abilities. A special weekly routine and protocol to use these visual aids with. So you don't, if you're given the structure, you're much less likely to veer off into another direction that sort of leads to nowhere. And combine with a special brainwave entrainment audio specific for third eye activation. And no, it's not those YouTube ones that don't do a whole lot. And I'll get into why. Now, you'll be recommended some extra couple of resources that really helps. But the visual aids comes with your initial payment for this presentation. Okay, that's included here. So this webinar is for you if you can sort of visualize or see psychically, but you still struggle. Okay, and it feels like a scary sort of laborious task. You feel like you're looking through a pinhole in many cases, where it's hard to see the whole length of something at a distance. You can only see parts of it, and you're feeling quite frustrated by this, fed up with that frustration. This webinar is for you if you're already a good psychic and you have little problem visualizing and seeing the non-physical, but you want to amplify your abilities and take things to the next level, and you're ready for that. And this webinar is for you, of course, if you can't see it all, and all you can do is give energy, so to speak, to mass meditations, or just go on feeling, because that's all you got. That's all that takes no effort or little effort. And you've pretty much given up trying to visualize. You have, it's like it's developed into a belief of I can't visualize, or I just don't visualize, when it's fundamentally perfectly natural to be able to visualize or see psychically. It's just as much as seeing with your physical eyes, the two front ones at the front of your face. All right. Seeing psychically and seeing the non-physical is, as far as all things natural are concerned, is supposed to be just as easy. And you're supposed to be able to just flip between one and the other. And of course, something's not right. So one of the main themes of this critical lesson is, okay, we've done all our, most of you are doing weekly, if not daily clearings, whether it's, soft fragment retrieval, ICB, 4 phases, visualizations, and you clear your field for 10 minutes each morning, or you do something like the soft fragment retrieval, or the ICB or 4 phases once a week, and you got that as a weekly or daily practice. Now, what I've realized recently, more and more, it started to become apparent to me beginning of this year, is we need to it's time to get physical. Okay, it's time to get physical, put more specific focus on the physical level aspects of our anatomy. All right, that needs more energy because it's more dense. Therefore, it needs more energy to move dense matter, as in physical matter. So, and I'll get into that. All right. And when it comes to that, things really do change when you get your consciousness on the right stuff, when you know what to focus on, especially when you communicate with your creative subconscious in pictures without the struggle. All right. Now, the first thing to realize is, as I've already communicated in the emails, the third eye is a system not a single eye. It's as much about the thalamus as it is about the pineal gland. And it's the thalamus that's what processes or even decides what you see and don't see when it comes to external vision. Now, we've all met someone, we've all come across people that can simply see auras. Always could. They can just see it. It's there. All right. That's because there's that extra mechanism within whatever gland that's not deactivated. It's, well, from the controller's perspective, from the Archon perspective, it's accidentally activated, switch on, and therefore they can see. Because, as many of you know, your physical eyes receive a vision, they receive codes, very much like in the Matrix, which was obviously, as many of you know, huge soft disclosure. It receives codes, and then through there, it goes through the thalamus, and I'll get into details about that. And the thalamus decides what gets either processed and sent through to the visual cortex. And people who can see auras, among other things, there's no blockage anywhere in that process. All right. So the thalamus is at the heart. Also, another aspect of the third eye system is at the heart of a magnetic field that's between your pituitary and pineal glands, and which receives and sends signals from the planetary magnetic field as well. All right, kind of like a natural organic Wi-Fi. And a healthy and activated pituitary and pineal gland strengthens this magnetic guide. So, so pituitary in a healthy, relatively decalcified state, let alone activated, more electricity is able to come through it, which increases its own magnetic field. And then that increases the size and strength of the magnetic field between the pineal and the pituitary. And that is one of the main aspects or components of the third eye system, collecting information. And think of the magnetic strip on your credit card. Well, that's magnetic. There's a reason why they call it magnetic strip. It holds, sends, and receives information when you swipe it through the payment processor at your grocery store. Okay, now within the thalamus, and by the way, folks, to really get to the core of this issue, to understand what's really going on, we do have to get fairly scientific at the physical 3D level. So do pay attention. This stuff's important. Okay, really follow along. Turn off the notifications on your computer and your phone. The distraction is really going to affect your ability for your rational mind to absorb this information and process it, which can affect the end product. Anyway, so within the thalamus, as you can see, there is the diencephalon. I'll just quickly read through this. The diencephalon acts as a primary relay and processing center for sensory information and autonomic control. The plethora of communicating pathways between these structures and other parts of the body makes the diencephalon a functionally diverse area. Some of these connections include pathways to the limbic system, seat of memory and emotion, the basal ganglia, as well as, and here's the punchline, as well as primary sensory areas such as auditory or visual. All right, so that last line there is the punchline. And on the left there, those two oval-shaped, things over there, as you can see, they're called visual area of the thalamus. And you got the optical nerves from the eyes and that travel through that visual area of the thalamus, and then goes to the visual cortex. Now, I'm curious. Hit an N for no or a Y for yes in the chat box if you even knew that the thalamus actually had a visual area. I'm just curious. Hit an N or a Y in the chat box if you even knew this. Because, again, at the top right, you'll see, as it says there, all optic nerves run through the thalamus. That's your first clue. Oh, we've got a few yeses. We've got about an equal amount. Oh, no, I'll say, about 80% no. A good 80% no. Seems to be 90% no. Thank you for that. All optic nerves run through the thalamus. Big deal. That's the first big clue there for you. In religion, these 12 nerves junctions are referred to as the 12 apostles. Okay, and that's the other interesting side to this, how they're expressed in religious or spiritual texts in their own different ways. Okay, so to break it down further, all right, so that, and I'm going to get into scientific details because, again, as you all know, when you shine the light of your consciousness on areas that hasn't received that light before, you know that that thing gets validated. It's able to breathe. It's able to raise in frequency. Things begin to change. Okay, this is a beginning process for you. So, pay close attention. Visual centers of the thalamus. You got the lateral geniculate body or nucleus. Some texts call it body, or some other texts call it nucleus. All right, and that's, I don't know if anyone can see my mouse here, but anyway, next to the big headline on the side there where it says lateral geniculate body, you'll see the smaller text that says lateral geniculate nucleus of thalamus, and it points to that little bulb there, and it's on both sides of the thalamus, all right? Again, and it shows the optic nerves. And yes, there are optic nerves that come from the pineal gland to these parts of the thalamus. No, you're not going to find it anywhere on official texts. I'll get into that later. All right. Then you got the medial geniculate body. All right. And that's on the right. The figure on the right, you'll see. So go to the top right, second down, just below temporal cortex, you'll see it there, medial geniculate body. All right, that's where that is. And what you see there, that whole structure is basically the endocrine system. And then you've got the inferior colliculi. These are slightly lesser known visual processing centers within the thalamus. And where is it? So you've got the beneath on the right again, third down, where it says inferior colliculus, and you've got the line going to those two green little balls over there. All right. These are all visual processing centers. Then you've got the superior colliculi, and well, I've got them all highlighted here, but on the left, all right, in that yellow highlight, you'll see superior colliculi, that blue highlighted part in the endocrine system, and inferior colliculi. And you'll notice, I didn't highlight it, but further up, slightly to the right, you'll see pineal body pointing there. Suspiciously close to the pineal gland, right? Okay. So, the thalamus, all sensory perceptions converge there first. And there's a good reason why I've got the exclamation mark. Now, knowing what we all know, being the savvy 144K starseeds that we are, do you think the pre-Adamites or giants, genetic engineers, messed around with these nerves and processing centers within the thalamus? in the same way that they partitioned most of the nerves in the corpus callosum. You think? And for those of you who don't know, the corpus callosum is that big bundle of nerves. I'll show it to you later. Big bundle of nerves that unite the right and left hemisphere brains. Most of that's partitioned. They're literally disconnected, the vast majority of them. And, again, it's like junk DNA. Well, what are all the nerves there doing there in the first place if they're partitioned? And we can go on about that. So, again, things change when you get your consciousness on the right stuff. So that's just one critical and very central aspect of the third eye system that you all need to have in your consciousness. The pineal gland, that's just the receiver, all right? Just like your physical eyes. And, it's just a multi-dimensional version of your physical 3D eyes. That's all the pineal gland really is. Once it has that visual, well, where does it send it to? It has to send it to somewhere, and it doesn't just pop through to the visual cortex, as you've just found out. All right. And again, a lot of those audios, pineal gland activation, 900 and whatever hertz and blah, 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 blah. Let's face it, they don't work. They may stimulate the pineal gland to a degree. They may accelerate decalcification to a degree. But let's be honest, if it really worked the way they says it does, you would have gone viral, okay? You would have had multidimensionality coming into people's physicality, and along with that comes I am presence, and you would have had the event by now. Obviously, that hasn't happened. We need to ask ourselves why. Okay, let's get scientific. So that's it. Okay, your pineal gland, multidimensional version of your physical eyes. Other things have to be sorted. Now, that's one aspect of your third eye system and psychic abilities. The other major aspect or component of your third eye system, again, some of you will know this, many of you won't. I just want to make sure we're all up to speed and on the same page, and that is the magnetic crystal in each brain cell must be reactivated or strengthened. So each brain cell has a little crystal. Okay, each crystal is like an antenna receiver that connects to the morphogenetic field, electromagnetic field or magnetic field of Gaia, the plasma field, and God knows what else. Okay, and so when I was researching I already knew this information, but I had to find images for the sake of giving, engaging the right hemisphere of your brain by providing images for this presentation. And through all the scientific papers, there was nothing about crystals in each brain cell. Nothing. In the same way that there was absolutely nothing about, the way the pineal gland nerves are connected to the visual cortex. Absolutely nothing. So to an extent, I had to go on metaphysical websites and my own psychic feed. Now, this image here is not from a scientific text from some college or university or .gov scientific association, whatever. This is from a metaphysical website. It's called, I think it's on the next slide. Okay. So that's the crystal there in each brain cell. All right. As you can see, I've circled at the bottom right the main punchline here, which is single magnetite crystal in the human brain. It's just a single, and every brain cell has one. And yes, that it does correlate to the cosmos in various ways, and lo and behold, it's in the shape of a pyramid as well. We'll get into that later. And so that's the website that I got that image from. Is Metaphysics Speaks. Metaphysics Speaks. I think I can see that right. It's a bit small. Tiny crystals in your brain could unlock psychic powers. No kidding. And below there, as you can see, we got tiny crystals from Gaia TV. Tiny crystals in our brain could unlock psychic powers. We know that the Earth's magnetic fields affect everything from our mood to our ability to learn. Even stranger, research has begun to provide links. Like, I know a lot of you are yawning over this, and black ops scientists would yawn over this, but let me just get over and done with. Research has begun to provide links between the electromagnetic field of our planet and psychic abilities. Could magnetic crystals act like tiny antennas connecting our brains to each other and to the entire planet? It may sound far-fetched, but surprisingly, the evidence is there. So I'm spelling this out again to help the rational mind receive and accept this, because there are some of us that are still kind of new to this. And I need to look after everybody. Okay, now, to unlock this major psychic ability from these magnetic crystals in each brain cell, you must reconnect and or clear the thalamus processing center. All right. Otherwise, you would already be perfectly psychic and can almost see anything. Okay, but again, some of us are there, but the majority of us, a good 80% of us, are obviously not there. Also, clear all non-physical aspects of your brain. Example, etheric brain, plasma brain, stuff that interference or darkness that comes through any kind of unresolved internal block, like a soul fragment still needing retrieval. That pollutes your energy field and quite often your non-physical heads, basically. So you still need to do your internal work. All right. And I'll get into a more automated way of doing that, partly because more personal time and focus needs to go into moving and altering and shifting anything that's at the physical plane, just because it's more dense, because it's on the physical plane. And there's an easy way to do that. I'll get into that shortly. All right. And of course, balance the right and left hemispheres to achieve centeredness, to hear, to be still enough to notice things. Most of you know that. Our brains are wired for being in haste and agitation and anxiousness. That's what our neural pathways are built for, because that's the state most of us are in. That's resolved, and I'll get into the tools for that shortly. All right. There you go. I preempted myself there. So the resources to do all of these in a more automated way, in a way that minimizes personal time, energy, and effort to make sure you do these exercises, because it's something, as you know, something takes too long or too hard to do. I'll put it off tomorrow. I'm busy today. Okay, and that really robs you of quite a different future. All right. Now, let's get into some real nuts and bolts at a scientific level. So pay close attention. The foundation, nucleotides, codons, which is a sequence of amino acids, and how to activate genes at the physical level. All right. These must be focused on consciously to return them to the divine state. So with the right visualization, that's easy to do. Otherwise, like I said, people don't do it consistently. These are within your DNA. most or all DNA activation tools methods only activate non-physical DNA strands, all right, which is critical as well, but they don't necessarily activate physical dormant genes and DNA. All right, so this is about completing the picture for you. All right, like I said before, it's time to get physical as well. All right, using the power of the subconscious creative mind in a way that's easy to do. Big deal. So, just over a year ago, Randy Kramer, which most of you will know, moved in to Sedona, where I live, and basically, I got my diabolical ulterior motives as to why I invited him to dinner. And during dinner, of course, most of you will know me. What's someone like the Unknown Lightwarrior going to do when he's having dinner with Randy Kramer? No, he's not going to care less about his personal experiences. He's going to ask all about and grill him all about the nitty-gritty of what is done to super soldiers. All right. How they become super soldiers, as in the genetic alterations that are done even well before they're born, even in their embryonic state. So I asked him all these questions, getting down to the smallest level of things, so well below the level of DNA and RNA and codons. And he revealed that the nucleotides, and I'll get into what they are in a moment, specifically, the nucleotides are altered, maybe recoded, within the DNA, which amps up the amino acid insertion and in the right sequences while in an embryonic state, and the embryo is then reinserted into the womb. All right, so if that, doesn't activate more curiosity, I don't know what will. So this is how they get their psionic powers and amazing abilities, remote viewing abilities, how they were able to, many of you have heard the story about how they can remote view, like assassins, super soldier assassins, how they remote view a target, and they, at the physical level here, any healer can do some degree of clearing on the non-physical aspects of a person's anatomy. But from physical to physical, that's a different ballgame altogether. And it's important to understand that. So they remote view the target and they squeeze a part of a particular artery. I can't remember the name of that particular artery, but they squeeze a particular artery between the heart and the brain, which causes a stroke. Well, it causes death. And that's how they would often assassinate people. Okay, so we're talking remote psychokinesis. Well, this is what we're dealing with here. Of course, we would use it for divine purposes. All right, let's get into what exactly are nucleotides, then codons, DNA, and then genes. It's like in that order in terms of what's at the bottom of it all. All right, for real activations. Again, we need to get our consciousness on the specific things. That's when your higher self will see, okay, they're really raising their consciousness, they're really getting there, they're really maturing. It looks like my lower self is ready. Okay. All right. Let me quickly run through this. Pay attention though. Nucleotide definition. This is important. A nucleotide is an organic molecule. All right, so they're just molecules. That is the building block of DNA and RNA. They also have functions related to cell signaling. All right, there's your first clue. Metabolism and enzyme reactions. A nucleotide is made up of 3 parts: a phosphate group, a 5-carbon sugar, and a nitrogenous base. The 4 nitrogenous bases in DNA are those particular amino acids, adenines. I won't bother pronouncing them. I hate scientific names. Anyway, RNA contains uracil instead of thymine. And I'll show you an image of these in a minute, folks. Don't worry. Nucleotide within a chain makes up the genetic material of all known living things. They also serve a number of functions outside of, and here's your other clue, genetic information storage, as messengers and energy moving molecules. All right. So this is your first clue about the information and messaging. In other words, instructions to these nucleotides. Maybe they need to be changed, altered. Maybe they've got dumbed down kind of information and or instructions that they're programmed with and acting on. All right, so this is your other clue. So the punchline, which I've highlighted, a series of 3 nucleotides within the DNA is known as a codon. All right, so a codon is simply 3 nucleotides together and directs, and again, the word directs, all right, so it tells what to do, directs the proteins within the cell to attach a specific protein to a series specified by the rest of the DNA. All right. Special codons even specify to the machinery where to stop and start the process. DNA translation, as it is known, converts the information from DNA into the language of proteins. Now, and this was disclosed in Star Trek: The Next Generation, all right, from back in the 90s with Patrick Stewart and Data, Jean-Luc Picard. Okay, there was, they had a Klingon on board that was sort of like an ambassador, but it was actually stealing secretive information from some sort of ship database. And what they found out he was doing, the way he got that information out, is he was storing that information. He processed it and stored that information in the form of proteins. Okay, so think of, you know, DNA having its own language and proteins having their own language, and he literally stored that language in his amino acids in his cells. Okay, another big disclosure there from the Black Ops community. Anyway, this chain of amino acids can then be properly folded and provided any one of many functions within the cell. So there's the image on the top left. That's a nucleotide. All right. So where it says sugar, that's the actual strand, the physical strand DNA. Okay. There you go. It's a certain phosphate sugar, if I remember correctly. And that's a nucleotide. All right, you got the base there, you got the phosphate there. All right, and the bases are over there: adenine, cytosine, guanine, and thymine. All right, and that's a complete picture along the bottom. That's a nucleotide. That's what receives an acts on instructions. In other words, programs. You can tell it what to do through the visually orientated creative power of mostly your right hemisphere brain. Left hemisphere receives and communicates through verbals. Right hemisphere, images. And it's the right hemisphere that's the real creative force that makes up most of your subconscious mind as far as physicality is concerned. Okay, let's move on. Now, I want to put similar definitions, but in different phrases for you to properly receive this, for you to properly start building new neural pathways that's fundamental to consciousness growth, which brings in more light. And light changes everything. So what is a codon? And I've underlined the punchlines. Pay close attention. A codon is a sequence of 3 adjacent nucleotides. All right. A sequence of 3 adjacent nucleotides constituting the genetic code. So that's the genetic code. That's what genetic code is. A chain of 3 adjacent nucleotides. That's the genetic code. Now you know what to focus on, and I'll get into that later, how to do it easily. That determines the insertion of a specific amino acid in a polypeptide chain during protein synthesis, or the signal to stop protein synthesis. All right, that's where all the action is. Now, obviously, underneath that, you got the atoms, the subatomic atoms of the nucleotides, and then underneath that, you got the quantum particles, and ultimately, that's where we work with. You know, you can change it at that level, you can change it so at the molecular nucleotide level. They will respond, really. All right. So the foundation, all right, back to this again. Now this leads to activating certain genes. Okay, so bear with me. Nucleotides, codons, and activating genes. In short, properly coded nucleotides. So it's about properly coding the nucleotides back to the divine way, back to the divine codes. You know, and we all know about divinely returning your DNA back to within its divinely coded state. Well, because it's at the physical, sometimes you need to get a bit more specific, because physical matter is more dense and you need to focus on specifics. All right. Again, very different from projecting your consciousness from the physical to the non-physical, where it's easier to change things almost instantaneously. All right. Bear with me. In short, properly coded nucleotides enables exponential amounts of light, information, and therefore embodiment of your higher self to come through the non-physical DNA strands, which must also be activated, into your physical DNA to accrete and hold such light. Now, I ran into a bit of trouble where I tried doing that. The result was extreme fatigue when I tried switching on genes without switching on and recoding the nucleotides. And believe me, the fatigue was god-awful. This is back in January, because the physical foundation wasn't there, okay, to accrete and hold and conduct that amount of light at the physical DNA level. I'll get into that more in a minute. So the switching on and reordering of the right nucleotides and codons, more like recoding all the nucleotides, that's my bad, and the reordering of the codons are the foundation for switching on the right psychic genes. Punchline, okay? Codons support genes and nucleotides support codons. All right. The nucleotides must receive new instructions to then send right instructions to amino acids within codons. This is what the black ops scientists do to embryos and reinsert into the mother's womb to create super soldiers. This is what basically Randy Kramer spelt out to me, okay, which I heard with my own physical ears. Receptors within physical DNA for receiving signals from non-physical DNA must be increased and fully activated as well, which is dependent on the codons and the instructions that they receive from the nucleotides. Okay? I warned you, I was going to get really scientific here. So we saw, this is basically what Randy Kramer was explaining, all right? All these little vertical lines, or little bands of dark gray lines, they're the amino acids within codons, and they move them around. properly sequencing them, add missing amino acids, because, well, even logically, let alone intuitively, it's easy to not imagine the pre-Adamites or giants, the original, the ones that changed our genetics 50, 60,000 years ago, would take some out or reduce their quantity. All right, so this is what it looks like. This is what, a given codon, so those two like sticks, those bands that travel from one DNA strand to the other DNA strand, look like. And they would move them around, shift them around, add more, increase quantity, and then put it back together and again in the embryo, and then reinsert the embryo into the mother's womb. That's literally what he said. And they generally do this underground, in the underground bases. And, I tested for this. I investigated thoroughly. I did test this with the themes regarding nucleotides and therefore codon manipulation. I asked them, were some codons and the nucleotides that run them removed? I got a yes. Deactivated? No. Were they wrongly sequenced, as in the amino acids within the codons? Yes. Reduced amino acid size and quantity within each codon? Yes. Hydrogen bonds reduced. Hydrogen bonds is what connects, like in the middle of those bridges that you see between the two DNA strands, they connect together in the middle, and that's called the hydrogen bond. Was the amount reduced? Yes. So sure, yeah, the pre-Adamites would do something like that. Okay. So you got to get that sorted out, long story short, and then you worry about switching on the right genes and how to do it so they can effectively function strongly enough, effectively conduct enough electricity. All right. So to clarify, because I know many of you won't be 100% clear on what exactly is a gene, and that's all it is. All right. So you got the chromosome there, and you got squillions of like little rolls that are coiled on top of each other throughout the chromosome. I'll show you another picture later of a chromosome. Rolls and rolls of a squillion DNA strands. Okay. And as you can see, it comes around there. And there you can make more of it out. And a small portion of that is a gene. All right. I just want to get you all orientated with that. Okay. Now, this is another visual, and we're going to get into epigenetics real shortly and how the mind can activate. So, as you can see, it comes around there through where that pink arrow is, all comes through the chromosome. Now, when it comes to epigenetics, activating genes, okay, now we're ready to talk about this. The genes, or these long rolls of DNA, all right, they come in those rolls over here that you said them in the middle, where it says chromatin. All right, that's a chromatin. All right. So they're rolled up in what's called histones. So take a look at the bottom white box, okay? Just look there for a moment. A histone, that's where the genes are rolled around, or the rolls and rolls of DNA strands. Now, when they're rolled around one of these histones, okay, the DNA or gene, the gene, which is a portion of the DNA, is inaccessible, okay? And what it means is that because it's inaccessible, as in it's inaccessible to the cell, which means that that gene or portion of DNA can't be transcripted and expressed or communicated to the cell and to tell the cell to do X, Y, Z. All right. Now, on the white box on the right, you see that where it's highlighted there in pink, all right, where it says DNA accessible, gene active. So when it's unrolled, not rolled around the histone, it's now accessible and it can express itself. It can communicate to the cell to say, do this. All right. All right, now, one bit of orientation, which is what this says, is all the chromosomes throughout all cells have the same DNA and the same genes. All right, but the difference between what tells a liver cell in this example to be a liver cell and the difference between, what a brain cell or a neuron is told and, how to form is based on what gene is available within the chromosome of that respective cells. All right. So at the top, as you can see, you got gene promoter, you got beneath that where it says neuronal gene promoter inaccessible. All right. So that little blue at the top left gene, all right, that gene tells a cell to form into a neuron, for example, or a brain cell. As you can see, it's rolled up around that histone on the top left there and inaccessible to the cell. But if you look further down, the neuronal gene promoter is accessible because it's not wrapped around the histone. As you can see, it's highlighted in blue, all right, at the bottom image, bottom left. And that is able to communicate to the cell or be transcribed to the cell. That's another way that they put it, to tell the cell, okay, form into a neuron. All right. So that's how it works. All right. That's how liver cells are told how to be a liver cell and brain cells are told how to be a brain cell. I just want to, other than that, it's all the same genes, same DNA, same chromosomes within all cells, within all organs of the body. So it's important to have that orientation. Okay. So around the middle here, all right, you got these things over here that attach to the tail. So there's little wiggly things, all right? And if you look towards the top middle, sorry I didn't have time to highlight all of this, but top middle where it says post-translational histone modifications. So you got those little green balls there that attach to histone tails that tells the histone to unroll the gene or that big long roll of DNA, to unroll it or roll it up, all right, depending on what it's told to do, all right? And then you got gene activation or silencing. Now, at the bottom, all right, that half circle or like a loop, all right, towards the bottom of that, bottom center of this whole image, you see RNA transcripts, all right? So the RNA transcripts, they're sort of attached to the unrolled gene that's now in between the histones. The RNA transcripts then attaches to it, and that's what transcribes, in other words, processes and communicates from the gene to the cell to do X, Y, Z. So transcription, what's transcription? Well, we know what transcription is in terms of media, transcribing an interview on video into text format. So it just communicates the language from the gene into the language that the cell can receive and act on. All right, transcription. Expression is another word. So it's all about gene expression or transcription into the cells and knowing how to do that, make that happen, make those histones unroll and therefore activate the genes. Because in most of our cells, they've, courtesy of genetic manipulation, they've told the histones to only unroll and therefore express a limited number of genes, just enough to form the physical structure to perform basic serfdom duties, and that's about it. All right. So let me know if you're finding this rather interesting and new information. Hit a Y in the text chat. If I find an N, maybe you should be doing this presentation. But anyway, so go ahead and hit a Y in the text, if in a chat box, if you're really finding this quite revealing and new above all. Okay, all right, they're really flying past here, and I'm really made it. Love it, pretty cool stuff. Why? Super interesting, excellent foundation. That's a good way to put it. Thank you, love it. All right, that's a lot of Ys. Thank you so much, everybody. All right, Gene hits the Y. No pun intended. All right. Now, in the smaller text there, that's part of a command that I'm going to put into the visual. It's a video. Okay, it's a video of a holographic images of all these organs and genes. So that command is going to go in that at the bottom, where it says all genes within all cells, it is commanded all genes within all cells, in all glands, nerves, organs, and systems, originally and divinely made for psychic seeing, multidimensional and multi-time space vision, psychic knowing, and clear cognizance and clear audience, be fully activated, and their nucleotides and codons properly sequenced and fully activated and expressed and transcribed into these cells now. A little comprehensive and long, but that's the way it is. All right. Now, to make this happen faster, all right, because none of us have time for nothing, all right, so to make it happen and faster, there's a way to simplify this whole process. And to do that, and this is a slightly different topic, but it's critical, all right? So we're getting into the tools here. The brain must be exercised and physically altered to stay in theta, delta, and gamma states, but still be awake and conscious, all right? All right, must gain the ability to get into alpha, theta, and delta relatively quickly to see and sense psychically. The non-physical brain must be relatively clear through internal work. A lot of you will have those tools, but some of you won't. Again, I'll get into that later. Through the physical alteration of the physical brain, it can hold visual focus on an object. And this is achieved through building new neural pathways while holding focus and stillness on these visual images that you already get as part of the cost for this webinar. All right. There's also plasma receptors within the physical brain, not just crystal in each cell. It also must be more fully activated to receive information from the plasma field and plasma body. All righty. So there's various different types of antennas, receivers, and receptors that, again, it all comes down to which gene is activated or deactivated to actualize those, to receive the signals from those, mostly in the thalamus. A lot of the receptors, the various kinds of receptors, they're already there, generally speaking. It's just the thalamus, for the most part, not processing it. All right. All right. So these are visual methods that are easy and practical that anyone can do to help you stay the course. All right. So no difficult, awkward visualizing that sort of becomes a bit of a laborious chore after even a few days of doing it. And then that's one of the main reasons why people don't stick with it and just get on with their busy life. So it's about staying the course. And again, that's not properly expressed, emphasized, and provided for in most courses when it comes to psychic training, psychic activation. So you're getting a good deal here. All right. Address all the things revealed here. All that scientific genetic stuff I just explained to you, addressing that focuses on those things as well. I know there's hardly anything out there that focuses on those specific things. Okay, I'm taking just a drink of water here. To become a powerful psychic seer and receiver for that matter. Okay, the right brainwave entrainment audio is strongly recommended to listen to while focusing on the visual aids within each session. All right. So basically, we all know about being put under hypnosis. What does a hypnotherapist do? All right. He or she puts you into theta brainwave states. And that way your subconscious just takes it in, whatever the hypnotherapist says. It just takes it in and acts on it. All right. This is basically a visual form of that. Primarily because, well, it's both, but it's more visual because, again, the right hemisphere thinks in pictures, generally speaking. So at the core of all of this, video, well, there's GIFs in the form of video, okay, that act as the visual guides to take the work out of activating your abilities. So again, this video is included for the cost of this webinar, and I have to admit I haven't been able to get them quite ready today, which is fine because there's at least 2 resources that you'll definitely want to get as well. But you will get them by around Wednesday. I'll email them to you. Everybody who's everybody that's subscribed, that registered for this webinar, even if you're listening to the recording, you watch your inbox because you will get the video on what to look at whilst listening to the brainwave entrainment program. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to include a demo, just a demonstration here. And, you know, again, well, they're not exactly free because you paid $20 for this webinar, but it comes with this webinar. It comes with what you've already paid for. And I will be coming into your email soon. So let me just quickly play this. Now, it's not 100% complete. It's 80% complete. But I just want to get you to have a quick taste of what's going to come in your inbox and what just a taste of what you're going to be looking at to make those genetic alterations with the histones, the nucleotides, and codons, properly add more and resequence amino acids, etc. within the codons. This is what's going to do it for you. So let me just start it. Play video. Okay, so take a look at this. All right. And in the background, if you actually just look at this, empty your mind and just look. Ladies, this one's for ladies because it's gender-based. This one's for men. Now, this is the pineal gland and visual processing centers within the thalamus. Just watch and observe and receive. And if you have headphones on, you'll be able to hear the brainwave entrainment audio. So if you're a man, you get the male version, female, you get the female version. And you'll look at these images for 30 minutes each day. Just watch, look, and receive. Get a little taste of what's coming. Hey, okay, am I on now? I should be on. Let me see. Let me put the slide back on. All right. Okay, fantastic. All right, so let me bring the chat box back up. Now, that's just a taste, a small taste of what's going to arrive in your inbox by around about Wednesday. All right, it's going to go for 30 minutes. It's going to focus on more things than that. All right, including the histones, what attaches to the histones, to unroll the histones, instructions for the nucleotides, rearranging and adding more amino acids, etc. Now, the graphic artist that put this together, she was telling me she was getting sensations in the center of her head while she was putting it together. And to a degree, I was as well when I was assessing them. So I'm curious, even though it's nowhere near as an experience as what it is when you get the final finished product, hit a Y or an O, or a Y or an N in the chat box if you start to feel anything, any little sensation in the center of your head. I'm just curious to know. And again, you really have to sit with it and just have your mind blank, be in a hypnotic state to really, okay, the Y's are flowing in. All right. 1N, Y, okay. So you'll be looking at, around 80% Y's. Okay, so if you were paying attention and you're in that relaxed, even alpha state, never mind gamma state, which is a deeper hypnotic state, you'll be feeling a lot more sensations. All right, so it's about 80% wise. Okay. Ron, my mind is always blank. Okay, so that's just a taste, all right, of what the final product is going to look like that you focus on for 30 minutes, which is the length of the brainwave entrainment audio. And you got that look forward to. I just need to get the graphic artist to complete it because I couldn't complete it in time. Okay. And it will be a PDF with a weekly sort of routine calendar and schedule for you to follow. And the doctor's prescription is 30 minutes, 5 mornings a week. All right. And, well, technically it's not free because you paid for the webinar. But anyway, you get the point. It comes with this. All right. So just watch out for that. Thank you, Katharina. All right. Now, for things to go further, to increase the speed of results, obviously it helps to be in a different brainwave state, in a hypnotic state, you could say, where the right hemisphere brain or subconscious, which is a creative force, receives the light, accepts it, and acts on it. All right. To do that, as many of you would know, you listen to a brainwave entrainment audio to receive it. All right. Just like hypnosis. All right. That reprograms the subconscious mind. But also to build new empowering neural pathways and to quicken that process, again, at the physical level. All right. The physical level needs more attention, more energy, more time, more focus, because it's more dense, because it's physical. All right. And I've had, after much research, I have found the right audio for that's specifically made for it, and that's the actual website. Okay. Again, on its own, it's incomplete, as I've explained. All right. And I've organized a deal for you where, they sell it for $29, webinar special $14. All right. Just to incentivize and motivate you to want to act now, because we all know if we don't act now, off we go in another direction with all the weapons of mass distraction, which is the nature of the internet era. So yes, I shamelessly give limited time specials. Otherwise, off we all go, right? Off we go to do our daily chores, and nothing changes. All right. So what do we got here? Timothy, how many weeks do you reckon for a noticeable change do you think? Thank you for that, Timothy. It all depends on the individual, how much work they've done on themselves to this point, how much clearing of the non-physical aspects of the third eye system have they done, etc., etc. It comes down to that. So it'll vary from 3 weeks to 3 months based on the individual. Reasonable question. It really is a lot like doing yoga or bodybuilding. Obviously it takes a few weeks to get results. Again, discipline equals freedom. All right. Now, some of you, all right. Again, time is an issue. I'm not going to neglect that and pretend that you got all the time in the world. To quicken the clearing and reconnections within the non-physical aspects of the third eye system, all right, such as the etheric brain, plasma brain, astral what have you, all right, in an automated way. I recommend the third eye code because there's always going to be a limited number of blocks on the non-physical, okay? You can do visualization, see what's there, what's going on there. Go ahead and do that. Strengthen the third eye chakra. Go ahead and do that if you can visualize. But the whole point of being on this webinar is that you struggle to do that or can't do that. All right. Now, I have to be honest about one thing. I had a limited release to 144K beta testers on Patreon. So it's a portion of 144K Patreon supporters at a certain level. And I left it at that because I saw that most of stubborn blocks were actually at the physical level, which of course requires physical action. And what are the point? Physical focus. Hence this webinar with these visual aids that you're going to get. I wasn't confident enough in releasing the third eye code to the entire 144K because I just wasn't, it'll do a lot and I'll show testimonials to that effect, but it wasn't complete enough to make me feel comfortable enough to release it. All right. So, but within this more complete package, it'll go a long way. It definitely a critical component. Again, not a must, but I recommend it. Okay, I certainly recommend it because you just stick it, you just tape it on your eye covers. All right, you print it out, laminate it, put it over your third eye chakra, in between the eyebrows, within your eye covers, facing inward. And off you go to sleep and let it do the work while you sleep. All right. What do we got here? Kathy, when you day physical level, can you give an example of what you mean? I think you mean when I refer to the physical level to give an example of what I mean. So physical level, I'm referring to the physical glands, organs, nerves, genetics, all right? That's what I mean by physical. There's non-physical aspects or equivalent of all those things, such as the etheric brain, for example, with its own mechanisms. You know, like a lot of people have etheric parasites, for example, in their head, in their etheric brain, as one example. So, third eye code. It's part of the Sacred Victory Codes series of codes on Sacred Victory Codes website. Although I'm going to bring it up here and let me read out this testimonial. Where was I? All right. They generally go for 147. Webinar special 47, just to make sure you don't put it off till later, because we all know in the era of mass distraction, we all know what happens when you put something off. No matter how important it is, right? It's gone. Nothing happens. So webinar special for, what have I got here? 24 hours, but I'm going to make it 48 hours for people that are listening to the recording to have a chance to get it. $47. Okay. Let me put up, I forgot to put up the offer for the pineal gland. All right. That's only $14. All right. Where is it? There we go. Okay. Pineal gland activation. Again, does a lot for the pineal gland and building new neural pathways and getting you down into that suggestive hypnotic state, and a whole host of benefits that flow on from that, such as balancing your hormones, biochemistry, yada, yada. And we've all heard of the saying, you know, a lot of the brainwave entrainment people, they say, change your brain, change your life. Well, there is a lot of truth to that, But again, as with anything else, it's incomplete. And I don't want to give you anything that's incomplete. All right. So if you were to click on the blue button, all right, it does open in a new tab. So you'll stay on the webinar. You don't have to worry about that. You can click on that and grab it and take advantage of it. Now, offers. All right. All right. Looks like I can only put one thing on at a time by the looks of it. So I'll have this offer. Click on that blue button. So you got that. So you've got that website. All right, up on a tab. You can get it now if you want while I'm talking, but obviously it's hard to multitask. But have it up and actually go ahead and grab it now. So that way I can take it off and put on the third eye code. Now, for some of you, if your blocks to psychic and third eye activation is mostly or all on the non-physical aspects, like your third eye system, like your etheric brain as an example, the third eye code will be enough for you. Okay. But again, the majority, it's physical. Certain genes and codons that need to be sorted out, and histones for that matter. Now, one of the visualizations will have something called activators that attaches to histone tails that unrolls the right genes to therefore activate the gene for whether it's pineal gland, thalamus, etc. So go ahead and click on the blue button there in the chat box, because I'm about to take it off in 30 or so seconds. So you have it up, because so that I can put up the third eye code recommendation. Okay, Nishia, what can we expect to see happen with our bodies, I think that says, and energy doing this? Okay. Example, light work causes fatigue. Yes, it does. And I explained before why that happens, and I'll explain it again in a minute. Light work causes fatigue. Third eye opening causes me to get headaches. All right. If that's the case, when third eye opening, I mean, who hasn't tried to open their third eye in the past, right? So when third eye opening methods causes headaches, it's caused from one of two things, typically both. One is there's a non-physical block. All right. The second reason, which really is the real issue, because there's no other product there that really takes care of it other than what's going to come to you on Wednesday. The second issue is any genes that are active and activated within the third eye system, glands and organs, they get stressed because they can only carry and conduct so much energy or electricity, and that's because the amino acid or codon sequencing and level of activation within the DNA of the respective gene is not like, how can I put it? It's not sequenced right. The amino acids aren't sequenced right. The amino acids within the codons have not provided enough quantity of amino acids, let alone in the right sequence, to conduct enough electricity and therefore expression into the cell. And therefore it sort of burns it out. It overstresses it because it can't hold that much energy to be able to express itself. And there may be another gene that's still wrapped up in those histones that is meant to be playing a role as well. Okay. And we change all that by giving instructions through these visual aids, giving instructions to those nucleotides to say, hey, add more amino acids and quantity of amino acids that are missing or removed, add them now to the codons. And it strengthens and makes the gene, vibrate stronger, carry more energy. So it can function in the same way that our physical eyes function. I hope that makes sense. All right. That's why you get tired when you do energy work or you start to, activate. Now, there is a detox, both the physical and non-physical detox factor, because when you activate, more light comes in, more light pushes out more toxins, both physical and non-physical. But that's just a matter of clearing it. All right. So that's the deal, why you feel tired. You need more genetic support. You need the right instructions to those nucleotides. You need the right gene activators to attach themselves to the tails of those histones, to tell the histones to unwind that DNA so it can express itself. All right. And that's part of the package coming on Wednesday, roughly. Okay. I'm trying very hard. Okay. So, all right. I'm going to remove the pineal gland activation brainwave entrainment that you watch during watching the images, the videos that are coming to you on Wednesday. All right, let me see here. So I'm going to remove that now. Go ahead and click on the blue button if you haven't already, because I'm about to remove it in 5 seconds. It's $14 for 24 hours, okay, from when you land on that page. Do yourself a big favor and click on it now, and I'm removing it now. All right. All right. Now, I'm putting up the third eye code. Again, it'll save you a lot of time and energy from having to do the usual visualization methods to clear any non-physical blocks. All right. Again, in an automated hands-free way, the visuals that are coming to you about Wednesday, that's going to focus on the physical blocks, basically. So here's thank you, Nancy, for this testimonial. Now this testimonial was from one of the 144K Patreon supporters, and it was unsolicited. Okay, she just added it in as a PS, by the way, literally, and she said, the image you sent us for upgrading our third eyes has been working very well for me. I wear it on my sleep mask and can feel the buzzing in that area afterwards. Gentle but unmistakable. So it begins that process as well. Again, you really have to take care of the physical and non-physical aspects of the, rather complex and multi-layered third eye system. Typically it doesn't just work. So I guess your other option, as opposed to the third eye code, is to hire a healer, a good energy worker, to take a good look at your third eye chakra, make sure there's no blockages, make sure they take a good look at your etheric brain, see what's there, infection, blockages, whatever. Now, we know how much they cost, okay? Anywhere from $100 to $200. And sometimes it takes more than just one session, and I can't do it all in one session in terms of a lot of the clearing and reactivation. So this is one time, $50. So go ahead and click on the blue button, the blue add to cart button beneath the sign there. And again, you buy it once and that's it. You print it out, stick it on your eye cover. And by the way, for the sake of getting better sleep, we're all supposed to be sleeping with eye covers. We're all supposed to get proper sleep. You have to sleep in complete visual darkness. Otherwise, your sleep is compromised. Unless you're a heavy sleeper, which always mystifies and impresses me. But anyway, so So that's just an FYI. For the sake of good sleep, it's important to sleep with eye covers and be in complete visual darkness. That does a lot more for your health. So go ahead and click on the blue button, and to bring it up, and you'll stay on. All right. What if we have calcification? Can you address whether this will work in that situation? Yes. The specific visualization where you saw those three blue like lasers going through, that goes through the pineal gland, and that does decalcify. Alrighty. And you can, after a couple of weeks, put specific focus on that part that shows the pineal gland, and just imagine the calcite crystals within the pineal gland at the quantum particle level just dissolving. Okay. And you have plenty of opportunity to do that. Alrighty, let me see, what have I got here next? Now, again, go ahead and click on the blue button to bring it up. You'll stay on the webinar. You won't lose the webinar. Now, many of you who've been a 144K member for a while, you will have heard of or known or even purchased the implants removal code. But I know many of you haven't gotten that yet. And I'll put that up in a minute. Obviously, to amplify clearing of blocks and remove devices and structures and implants blocking your ability to see, I recommend the implants code, because the third eye code that focuses on connections, clearing infections, activating certain components within the non-physical brains or heads, because there's not more than one non-physical brain. This is specific to implants. Now, this is something you'll want to have regardless, okay? You need to get rid of those implants. If you have implants, devices, or structures, or still too many, they do heavily limit how much light from your higher self you can accrete and conduct. In other words, how much of your higher self you can embody. This is a general must anyway. So, and I'll put that up in a minute. Again, some of you have this, all right, and love it. But I know many of you, for various reasons, haven't gotten around to getting it. And it's normally, $147, but I've got the coupon codes here. I'm going to bring it up here. Okay, it's the same coupon code for the third eye code. All right, so third eye special activation. All right, so just make sure you capitalize. Actually, I'll type it in. I'll type it into the chat box and pin it to make so you can just copy and paste it. Third eye special activation. Grab that code, and you can use that to get the third eye code and the implants code for $47 instead of $147 for the next 48 hours. If you're listening to this live, it does affect psychic activation. Okay, so just a testimonial from that. Using the small size codes and implant area, like behind neck, solar plexus, sacral. So this 144K member put it on those specific areas, which isn't necessary, but sometimes it's needed. I first felt an energy struggle at that area. All right, so just English is his second language. Bear with me here. I first felt an energy struggle at that site, then stability. Depending on how advanced you are, there will be change in persona, which is interesting. If the person is not ready, a small fight within the implant reappears and the process repeats as the code works. So there's a bit of, again, depending on where you're at, there's varying degrees of resistance, but eventually it goes. again, this is automated. You just wear this code. You print it out and wear it. So go ahead and click on the third eye code, add to cart button, because I'm going to take it off in about 10, 15 seconds so I can put the implants code, because I know roughly, over half of you never got around to getting that. All right. Okay. And Elisa, if the third eye code is for non-physical, what is the pineal gland stimulating audio for? Physical or non-physical? The audio is for mostly physical, all right, to, like I said, build those new neural pathways to help you think in a better way, more automatically, to sort of change those automated, deeply ingrained negative patterns of thinking, which have a crippling effect on life, and to alter that. And also to put you in that hypnotic state to amplify the effect of seeing the visuals on that video that you're going to get by Wednesday. So it just amps it all up. So changes that would normally take 2 months, okay, with the audio and with the third eye code, it'll take 2 weeks, for example. All right, because it's all put on steroids. It's a quickening process. All right, let me move on here. All right. So that's just, all right. I didn't have a chance to put on the link, the button for the implants code, but that's okay. I can, it's simply at sacredvictorycodes.com, and it comes up. Just click on the implants code button and it takes you straight there. And the same coupon applies. Let me see here. Let me just make sure the coupon code is pinned. Now I'm going to take more questions shortly for the remainder of this webinar. All right, so third eye and psychic activation system, what you get. Precise visual aids included for the cost of registration for this webinar. PDF instructions guide included. Brainwave entrainment audio. That's not mine. That's a third party. $14. Okay. Third eye code. I was going to release it months ago to all of the 144K for the normal price of 147. Again, because I would say half the blocks are at the physical level, and physical focus and intervention from the physical level is quite often needed to change the physical level stuff, genes, organs, glands, because it needs more energy. Okay, quite often, because of the dense, heavy nature of physicality, things from the non-physical planes don't always express themselves into the physical. Physical involvement is needed as well, combined. Physical focus from the physical incarnational self. So, $49 for the next 24 hours after you click the button, and implants code, that's at Sacred. Okay, they want audio offer. Right, okay, I'll put that back up. Yeah, I'm getting a couple of people in the chat box asking, I want audio offer. So go ahead and click on the blue button for the third eye code if you haven't already. It opens up in a new tab and you stay on the same tab. You'll stay on the, all right, let me see. Okay, here we go. All right, so 5 seconds before I remove the third eye code for automating non-physical clearing of the third eye system, and again, make things much quicker and hands-free for yourself. So click on that blue button. I'm taking that away in 5 seconds in order to put on the audio again, the audio offer. Okay. start offer. There we go. And okay, so there's the audio offer. Click on the blue button to bring that up. Okay, let me just focus on completing this thing. Okay. So partly because you're not going to find this sort of package, never mind the visual aspects, and also the combination of all these components of this package that work synergistically together, because you're not going to find this anywhere else anytime soon, especially at this price. I would strongly urge you to click on the blue buttons, okay? Because it really does allow you to activate your higher mind and psychic abilities to see solutions quicker. All right, we want solutions, right? And to carry them out. Save God knows how much time in wasted time, effort, and money in not seeing solutions easier and quicker. Because now you will be able to see the non-physical influence in your life, much better and quicker. All right. So you don't have to, you'll be less reliant on stopping everything, sitting down, getting to that state of mode, focusing, visualizing yourself awkwardly as always. What's there, trying to be in that neutral state of mind, carefully transmuting, yada, yada, yada. All right, which I strongly recommend you do, and hope you have been doing whenever a block comes up. But you'll be able to do all of that more seamlessly, more on the fly. It'll come more naturally, because you see a block comes up, black, transmuted into white light, it's gone. All right, so there was an associate of mine. I'll be honest, it wasn't a client, because I've stopped doing one-on-ones for a while. He was in a bit of a mess, basically, one morning, trying to get something continued with a business project. I took a look, and the first thing I saw was a squid type of entity, all right, with sort of encompassed all around his aura. And I cleared that. And then there was it was actually a demon type entity, but it was imitating his face, but an angry kind of face, agitated kind of face, interfering with him in every possible way. Cleared that. And then there was another entity stalking around behind him. Oh, that was the same one. The entity was actually the one that I cleared after that. That was sort of on the roof. And then there was all this black muck, which is typically black plasma, through his chest, okay, where his heart was trying to direct the love and attention of his, of his intent for that day, of his actions, because we need to be guided by our heart, come from the heart. That's the overriding factor that runs things in the background, all right? A bit hard when you got stuff there. And when you're in the throes of such, emotional upheaval, it's hard. Unless you're really activated, it's much harder, takes more time, more patience, more effort to stop, drop, and clear, as me and my partner call it. All right. Again, with the third eye system, way more activated, it's easier to do this. You'll see it. Sometimes you'll see it instantaneously. You're more after seeing it straight away and just more easily visualize it. Get it all done quickly without them having to stop in a lot of cases. Okay, that's our natural ability. And again, that changes the timelines. You're on a high timeline as a result, and you're able to move forward to your goals, dreams. All right, so take action now, activate your abilities, because we all know in a more ultimate sense and higher perspective, all this is for far greater purposes than ourselves. And as 144K members, you know exactly what I mean. So grab your third eye code to take care of the non-physical aspects, and your gamma wave or pineal gland wave brainwave entrainment audio now. Okay. And I know that picture is not very fitting within the theme, but it looks bloody cool, so I left it up there. All right, so I'm going to take away the offer for the brainwave entrainment audio in about 10 seconds, because there's bound to be someone that didn't click on the third eye code, blue button. And, you know, I want to sincerely congratulate you for being on this webinar training and really taking action. Let me see. You know, there's some cool stuff coming your way, but again, you want to quicken the results, okay? In a more automated, hands-free way if you can help it. That's where the third eye code in particular comes in. So I'm going to put that up now. For those of you who, for whatever reason, were paying attention to me and just didn't get around to click on it. So there's a third eye code, $47 only, down from $147. It's a far cheaper option than hiring a healer. Okay, Joanne, what signs will I see this is working? So initially, you'll start to feel sensations, all right, because at the physical level, and that's the rare kind of thing that occurs when it comes to activation and DNA activation in general. All right, most products and services and healers, they work on the non-physical aspects, which is critical. But for the first time, for most of you certainly, if not all of you, you're getting something that properly addresses and effectively addresses the other side of the coin, which is the physical. Because even I made the assumption that if I take care of all the non-physical aspects of our anatomy, light bodies and plasma body and so forth, it'll all extrapolate down into the physical side and change the physical, which does happen to a degree, but not quite enough, because we're dealing with highly, extremely deliberate genetic manipulation and programs. Okay. So, and it's more dense, so it takes more physical level focus and time and attention. You really got to shine the light of your consciousness from the physical to the physical to change the physical genes, nucleotides, codons, you know, and those activating factors that attach to the tails of the histones that then tells the histones to unroll XYZ gene. That as well, that's going to be included in what's coming your way by around about Wednesday. Okay, so I'm about to end this webinar in a few minutes, so go ahead and ask any questions. Okay, so all right, someone else is asking if they can put the implant offer. I didn't have actually time to upload the implant offer, so I'm going to type in the URL in the chat box. And I'll give it to you verbally now. It's sacredvictorycodes.com. All right. Use the coupon. Let me go back to the coupon. Let me see. All right. Let me see if we can pin mute or all right. I can't pin. All right, in the chat. Okay, let me see here. Bear with me, everybody. I'm going to pin. Well, I want to pin the coupon code and the Sacred Victory Codes URL at the top, but it's not allowing me to now. So, not at the top. It keeps on scrolling down and it's long gone.
It's in the chat. I'll do what I can. Okay, just keep going.
No, just pin
Just keep going. I'm not gonna.
Bear with me. I'll put
I'm
it
not
in.
gonna have you fumble live at the end. Don't
I'll
do
put
it.
it in sticky messages. See there? Set sticky message.
Strong,
Put
I'll
it
do
there.
I'll do it. Strong.
Okay, here we go. I've worked it out. It's in set sticky images. So I'm going to insert the coupon code in sticky images. So it's at the top of the chat box because the chat box is continuously rolling down. Okay. Let me see here, folks. All right, bear with me here. Apologies for this because I'm not familiar with the way the chat works. Okay, so that's the end of the webinar. That's the end of some real secrets that has been revealed to you. And congratulations for making this happen for yourself. And, you know, it's all important stuff. Again, you won't find this information anywhere else. I hope you got a lot out of it. And grab those things that makes things much easier and quicker for you. Those two offers. Okay, I think I've worked it out. Okay, finally worked it out. So it's at the top for the implants code. Just click on Sacred Victory codes, copy and paste the discount code to make things much easier for yourself. And of course, click on the blue button for the third eye code. And I'm going to talk to you all real soon. Again, watch your inbox, the video that you just sit and watch and absorb and receive. You know, it will come with some text at the bottom as well, commands as well. So it's going to be amped up and improved with what you were shown on this webinar. So it will be improved. And again, like I said, you won't find something like this anywhere else. In the long term, this saves you money, not just saves you a lot of time and effort in actualizing your third eye system and being that savvy psychic that's able to move through or avoid obstacles and makes better decisions and gets on better timelines more quicker and easier. Again, most of you know how to do energy work and how to, you know, sit down and clear and heal. This will allow you to do it much quicker and easier as well, quite often without having to sit down and do a whole hour of stuff as well. That's where I'm trying to get us all at. The ulterior motive being for the sake of, you know, being far more powerful planetary liberators. Okay, we all know at the back of our minds that's what's really running the show. Our higher selves incentivizes us and motivates us in all sorts of ways that appeals to the incarnational self to make sure something important happens. So I'll be closing in a minute. Thank you all, and congratulations to all of you for taking the right action and making things happen for yourself. So again, if you haven't already, click on the blue button for the third eye code. And I look forward to great results for a lot of you. And yes, it does work. All right. Yes, belief or non-belief either shuts down or allows which way those quantum waveform particles localize into a local space-time event. That's still a part of it. So yes, technically you still have to believe it works because the mind is that powerful. Hence the old adage,
whether you believe you can, or whether you believe you can't, or whether you believe something works, or whether you believe something doesn't work. Either way, you're right, because the mind is that powerful. Quantum waveform particles being the fabric of our physical reality, just as an FYI. So, I had the choice this week to do either this critical provision of critical resource to activate your powers, or do another Ground Crew Command radio show. And now you understand why I chose this. It's such a big deal, of the kind of information and revelations, let alone tools and resources, that you won't be finding anywhere else anytime soon. So make it happen for yourself. I've kept things as doable, as easy to do, as time-saving, as user-friendly, and as affordable as I could possibly make it. I hope you can feel the sincerity in that, because, we need people getting activated. We need people activated. Gaia needs people activated. Many of you know what's coming down the pike over the next 2 or 3 months. There will be that sharp decline before we have that sharp incline. Well, if you can handle it far better and be a more powerful psychic and visionary to be a far more effective meditator, don't you think it's going to do a world of good during the next 144K mass meditation? Again, this is greater than ourselves. So at the very least, do it for that reason. Okay, I might get one more question here to help people out. There's only 4 minutes left on the live audio. And I apologize for that frustration before in trying to get that damn sticky note at the top of the chat to stick there. We were trying to figure it out. All right, 2 minutes left. And all right. Time to end it now. And well done to everybody. And I really mean that. I salute every single one of you. Again, click on the blue button if you haven't already. And thank you, Grace. Thank you, Jeffrey. Blessings to you as well. And I may just do that, Annalisa. I just want to further develop this whole thing and get more testimonials. So I might just do that, Annalisa. And you're right. Many people do need this. Thank you, Melissa. Okay. Watch your email, everybody. I'm going to provide, because I know a couple of you I see that the blue button didn't work. So watch for an email, and I'll provide these resources in an email if the blue buttons didn't work for whatever reason. We all have those tech glitches, and so don't worry about it. All right, so just watch your inbox, and thank you, everybody. And well done, everybody. And I really mean that. So this is your loving servant, the Unknown Lightwarrior, ending this very unique and highly opportune Third Eye System webinar. Good afternoon and good night wherever you are, or good morning. Blessings. Love you all.